Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. We're so glad to have you back. And I wanted to share another series of visions that I had seen. Now, this series of visions relates to an earlier video I did on basically a space catastrophe, something that was going to happen in the future. And I want to kind of go through this very carefully. Might take a little longer, but it will be worth it, and it will tie together. I think it's just the same. This is in regards to the same vision I saw previously. I'm pretty sure. I can't 100% guarantee it, but I think this is regarding the same vision. And in the earlier, the funny thing is that in the earlier, I thought at first it could be the regarding Mars travel, but I think it actually, I used a thumbnail from what I just picked a thumbnail, which was actually an Artemis one. They were like a visualization of the moon basically them going to the moon, astronauts going to the moon. And so I'll go ahead with the description of the vision I saw. Well, the first one was a vision. It was a personal one. It doesn't have relevance to the story. But the second vision I saw in the second vision a big our moon. So it was the moon. Everything was kind of centered around this our moon, like a picture of the moon, and it was kind of intimidating in the picture. And then the second part of this vision, I saw things circling around the moon, and I guess I would describe it as orbiters, like space orbiters, like that they would, before they launch people to the surface, they would have them in orbiters. And that was the second vision. And they would keep on circling around the moon. And the interesting thing is that I think when I looked up Artemis, this whole Artemis moon program, is that the actual circling, what I saw was that it was circling the actual north and south pole would be the north and south pole of the moon. And it wasn't like on Earth where things circle the equator, satellites and things like that circle the equator, which I thought was interesting. But it actually agrees apparently with what they're going to do with Artemis. They're going to circle the ice caps, the north and south ice caps, not the equator of the moon. So it's very interesting, I thought, with that correlates it. And then the third vision I saw was a bunch of astronauts. It was two astronauts, actually. They were driving a rover on the moon, and they were being reckless with it. Just about, they were bouncing on the rover. They were driving very fast. It seems like they were very excited, but they were just kind of like being reckless with it, almost to the point of recklessness. And they were bouncing and all that stuff. And then the fourth vision I saw was this was an interesting one. The fourth vision I saw was this large fish. I'm going to show you a picture here. And it wasn't a typical food fish that we would look at. We would, we think about tilapia or trout or salmon, that this is typically what people think of when they think of edible fish. But this fish looked different. It was very tall, but very kind of narrow front to back. And so I don't know the significance totally of this vision. It could be that they're trying to use this fish and raise it as food or livestock on the moon. Whether it's successful or not, that's the whole key, I think, to this vision. Or it could be they could find maybe a fossil find or something else. They could find a fossil of this fish on the moon, possibly, but the whole point was that this fish, or some other thing we don't even know yet, like it could be something else even. So but the fish was the significant thing, and it looked like this. So that was the last vision I saw this was about a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And so I'm going to get into now to kind of tie it all together with what these space launches and everything else regard to the last vision. Now, Artemis 1 has already been completed. These are all lunar type missions to basically get onto the moon. So Artemis 1's already been completed. They had an Orion capsule with the SLS, which is the Super Heavy Launch Vehicle rocket from NASA. And they completed that mission. And in February of 2026, they're going to do a lunar flyby and return. So this is going to be the SLS NASA rocket with the Orion capsule on top of it. And that's going to be in February to April of 2026. Apparently, that's what the schedule is. And that's that mission. Then Artemis 3 is going to be this is the first crewed moon landing mission since apparently the one we supposedly have. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. Back in 1970 or 60s to 70 or something like that. Early 70s. So Artemis 3 is going to be done in mid 2027. And this is also going to involve the Starship. So this is going to involve the SLS NASA rocket with the Orion capsule, and also the Starship, which is Elon Musk's Starship that's going to land on the moon. It's the HLS, they call it, the HLS. So they're going to dock, I guess. Apparently, the Orion capsule is going to dock, and then the Starship is going to go down to the surface with this big Starship, and they're going to bring some stuff down with it. Apparently, they're going to land one, or I don't know if they're going to put one of these, or I guess, or one or two in orbit of the moon. This is the HLS. They're going to orbit the moon with ahead of time, or sometime, they're at the same time. And they're going to drop a rover, which is it's going to be able to be driven by astronauts, but the astronauts aren't going to do it till a later mission. So they're going to drop this rover on the moon, and at first it's just they're going to do it by remote control and look around the moon. So this is the Artemis 3. And they've had problems, just to make a note here, they've had problems with this Orion. Now this is the capsule, with the heat shield issues and some valve problems in our life support system, so it doesn't sound good. But, and they're apparently going to sample some ice water on the moon, and they're going to position this rover for future use, and then they're going to go back home. So they're going to stay there for a week, apparently. And now Artemis 4, they're going to drop, that's in September of 2028. They're going to build a lunar space station. So they're actually going to put stuff where, almost like the orbiting space station they've had, where people can go there for for a while and come back. There's going to be a habitation module, and there's going to be, I guess, a gateway that is going to be in outer space as well, probably orbiting the moon. So that's September 2028. And Artemis 5 is going to be approximately March of 2030, or they say no later than. And there's going to be a lunar gateway space station set up. I think this is where the astronauts are going to drive around in unpressurized. I think they're going to use the same rover that they used before. So that's the scheduled Artemis moon mission, and they're going to use this as a back, is they're going to use the information from this to go to Mars, and that's the whole point of it. Now, I had said in previous video, and I think this all ties together. So the first thing I said was that there's going to be, I had a vision of an eyeball, and then the eyeball turned into a rocket, space rocket launch. So I think that's going to be the SLS. NASA rocket so all eyes, apparently what this means is that all eyes going to be on it's going to be tons of, probably maybe 1 billion humans are going to watch this launch. It'll be a very critical launch, or however many, a lot of people are going to watch this launch. And then it's going to have a series of official quotes that I had said. So they're going to say, the first thing they're going to say is, "I don't know what we're going to call it." And the second quote is, "We've not learned our lesson. Get lost, go missing." The third thing they're going to say is, "Mission lost, go missing." And the fourth thing they're going to say is, "Mission lost, go missing eventually." And then Elon will say, he said at the end, he will say, "Looks like it's not there. Stinks." And so this, what I had said before, this is a kind of a tragedy. I strongly felt in my first set of visions that this was going to involve a loss of crew. The crew could be these humanoid robots that Elon is apparently going to send to Mars, or it could be humans, actual astronauts, and there's a bunch. I don't know. I think a lot of these astronauts are already listed, so you can actually look up their names and everything. So this looks like a catastrophic loss of some portion of this mission, and this could involve Elon Musk's HLS rockets. They're going to land on the surface. This could involve, problems with the orbiter where people are going to die in space because of, like they said earlier, that they've already got issues with the valves and these other things that they're dealing with. And but this, it's like a space tragedy that people. It looks like people are going to lose their lives because of problems with these launches, and that's very sad. But that's what it appears. That's what God has shown me. So, and I can't tell what it is. If it's the SLS rocket that blows up, if it's some problem with the orbiter, if it's some problem with the HLS SpaceX. I think the starships, they're similar to a starship that land on the surface, but it seems like this is what happens, and it could have multiple, they could have multiple problems with this where they do it over and over again. So anyways, I just wanted to do that, but I this is what God showed me will happen. So anyways, hope you have a great day. And but this is what God showed me, so I have to speak it. Thanks a lot for listening and watching, and we will talk to you soon.